Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Claudia Kaiser. I'm the Vice President of Frankfurt Book Fair and also very active here in Jaktent. Welcome to the session about a new forum for startups and an exchange and learning forum for startups from Germany and Indonesia. With me today, I have two speakers who are experts on the startup scene in their respective countries. So let me welcome Adrian Sugandi from Indonesia in Jakarta. Welcome, Adrian. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
And thank you. And Harald Hensler, who joins us from Munich, Germany. Thank you, Harald, for being here with us early in the morning. No, not so early. I would like you to say a few words about yourselves, because I think you will be much better in introducing yourselves than I am. Please, Adrian, do you want to start?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Well, it's afternoon, almost evening here in Jakarta. My name is Adrian. I'm a CEO and co-founder of Sonic Book Indonesia. It's a startup. It's a startup in IoT. Basically, and I've been around. Our startup has been around from 2018. Been working a lot in the startup community. Quite active on just knowing and networking with all these interesting people, and looking forward to have this collaboration.
Thank you, Adrian. Harald.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the possibility to join this meeting. My name is Harald Hensler. I'm coaching startups for many years. I worked in publishing houses where we developed, well, let's see, new ideas, new startups. I developed my own startups too. Sometimes they went well, sometimes they did not. So I'm well known with those fuck-up nights where you talk about those things that don't work. We have a program that's called Content Shift in Germany, where we develop startups. We did do this for the last 10 years. And Content Shift says, how do we invent ourselves in a new way when we talk about content? Because content is moving from just printed content to digital content, and that's the main topic I'm very interested in, and how to have the right business models, how to think about the customers and their needs. And on my job, I'm teaching digital strategies as a professor at the International University in Munich.
Wow, yeah, so that is quite impressive. What do you do in terms of digital strategies and also teaching and being very international about this? Adrian, can you tell us a little bit about the startup scene in Indonesia?
Yes, startup scene is very growing right now in Indonesia. Of course, this year was not as good as they would like to. The growth is kind of halted a little bit due to the pandemic, as we all know. But then it's picking up. It's going stronger now. The funding rounds are getting active. I think the whole scene in Indonesia now, it's somehow manageable. So I think if we try to slowly getting back to normal, but not 100% normal, but it's more like a mixed hybrid half. But I think most of us get used to it, and kind of get the niche of how to manage and navigate the whole pandemic, and people are start getting a bit more aggressive now, and market is getting better a little bit. We're seeing growth slowly, even though it's not yet. We are not back yet as was before, but then it's showing a good sign.
Mm-hmm. And in Germany, What is the startup scene looking like there, Harald?
Well, the startup scene developed rapidly in the last years. We've seen a big shift to new companies who invented things. If you just look at the Corona topic, we have a so-called startup who is one of the first to develop some vaccine. We have a very good startup scene in Berlin, in Munich. And it's also always important to gather people so they could exchange ideas and go on. The startup scene is interesting in one aspect because we have a very strong industry in Germany, so we have established companies. And the big topic is how those established companies can work together with the startups. Therefore, we have many things maybe you don't see from the outside, because there are big companies who work with startups who are not that well known. But this influence and common co-working is a very driving force in Germany, actually. And talking about content, we noticed that in the last 5 years, many startups who came from artificial intelligence, e-commerce, and also using media didactics entered the market, and today we have a very various scene in Germany.
Corresponding to that, Adrian, where are most of the startups on which area are most of the startups in Indonesia, and in which not only regional but also content-wise?
Well, the most exciting part in Indonesia, because it's not Indonesia is not as advanced or not as mature as the Silicon Valley or maybe in the European counterparts. We are seeing a very rapid growth in the past maybe 5, 6, 7 years in the past 5, 6 years. So I think it always starts with the most basic tech startup. When we talk about startup, tech startup is always starts with e-commerce. That's just always basic, because that's the one that always get penetrates on every market. When you look at the US, it's always on the Amazon part, and then it grows and then fulfilling the ecosystem. That's where the biggest one, the unicorn, as we state, it's mostly there. And then and now I think what supports that is the one that is growing right now in Indonesia, which is, of course, logistic company. It delivers the delivery of the goods, and then the services like payment, lending. Those are the one that is the one that's growth that's still growing in the past. And again, we have 13,000 plus islands. I think the logistic is a nightmare here. So that's where it's becoming interesting now. But then it shows, and then once it gets exposed on those things, startups starts to grow and compete in the global market, and that's where education comes into picture. This is why this kind of Jakarta Content Week is very important. It's because now then we start looking for talent, where talent is becoming a talent war, quote unquote, kind of say. Which it transfers always back to how to fulfill those, how to get the right education for the next generation, and how to basically just to make how to market properly, how to make how those content can support the ecosystem in terms of everything. I think that becomes very crucial. Those are the I think those can be as a start. I think in this year and last year, and the next few years in the future, I think that will be something that is very interesting to see, because investing on the next generation, investing in knowledge and education, and with our population of about 270, almost 275 million people, I think that's something that is very interesting.
Yeah. And what is that like education? What was mentioned in terms of the content side of things, and let's say educational startups? What is it like in Germany?
Yeah, well, the educational market is a very varied market in Germany. We speak about education in schools and primary schools and then universities. But in terms of education, we also speak about education in companies. We have the so-called lifelong learning. You see, I studied literature and philosophy, and I never in my working experience worked again about Heidegger and Schwitters and the Dadaism. So what I did all my career was learning by doing all around digitalization. So what I'm talking about now has to do with how could I be able to learn about metadata, about data-driven business, about persona models. And this is a big topic in companies in Germany. So education has to do with business to business in companies, has to do with the education at the universities and at the schools. And especially now, for example, we have in Germany, it's called Digital Pact. It's how can pupils in schools and universities learn by digital media. And we still have many things to do because we still study by books, but the actual life is learning on what's going on TikTok, on YouTube, yeah, and things like that. So there's a very interesting aspect that the pupils learn watching YouTube videos, and the teachers still give them books. Both media are important because a book can teach you certain things and YouTube video can teach you certain things. And now the big issue is how to combine them in a good way.
Yeah. I suppose that is also something you can relate to in Indonesia, no? The competition and existence side by side of digital media and books. Adrian.
Right. Yeah. I think that's very relatable in here also. As we know, in Indonesia, the internet users and the majority of the internet users, their traffic is going to social media here, which is, I think it's above 60%, if I'm not mistaken, which is most of those traffic going to social, and people are learning from there. And then TikTok, and then the second one is YouTube, watching a lot of videos. Either it's positive, either it's negative, and it could be both. And it's the way I look at it. Education as a knowledge per se, it's easy to get now. In digital media, it's easy to get. It's very reachable. People are willing to spend over here. There's the majority of the data package. It always comes in prepaid, and people are willing to pay to make sure that they are still on the social media and on their YouTube platform to watch or to consume the media, which I think knowledge can be delivered through that easily. But how to set up that knowledge properly, I think that's the whole idea. And the creativity is the one that needs to be addressed, which is the content. It's not just knowledge, I guess. In the school-wise, I agree with Harold, which is delivering it from books, not from digital media, which is, it's very fast at getting outdated because you can see a new feed on TikTok every minute, and then it's new every time. It's new, and books you need years to print, or maybe to get it published, to get it written, to get it copywritten properly, published, deliver it logistic-wise, which is on the digital media. You can upload it, and the next minute it's available worldwide. Which what the millennials and the Generation Z now are consuming, which that it's something that knowledge, it's very easy to consume and they can get it right away. But then the creative part is the one that I think I believe needs to be emphasized on when we are when we are teaching them. Also the lifelong learning. I agree. The data shows millennials and Gen Z, which is they want when they work, they're not looking only for like benefit and money wise only, but they're looking for values which they can enrich their lives, that's learning. So whoever that can deliver that content in a company wins. I guess wins the talent war. That's what we are.
Yeah, thank you for that. I want to also talk a little bit about the coaching systems or the coaching forums that exist for startups in the different countries. But before that, I also want to ask you, you mentioned, Harald, the Corona, that something was done. I think you probably mean the Corona app that was developed in Germany, and that was by a startup that was that wasn't so well known. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that as well, and how the Corona situation affected the growth of startups in Germany.
Well, the Corona is one of the big topics that shows, for one, how digital a country is and how we can use digitalization in achieving solutions for the problems we have. So it's very important to think about the Corona app, how many people are reached, how many they register, and how it can help to prevent the disease develops too rapidly. Here we see that it's not that easy within a country that everyone accepts it. We also see in terms of Corona the topic of fake news and of misleading news. I think what Adrian also said is to create value and to trust in certain informations is a big issue in Germany, and startups are ready to help in developing it. We had, for example, a big competition in March where many companies and startups offered by crowdsourcing and crowdfunding solutions on how to work with the pandemic. So it was one of the biggest events where startups contributed with their solutions, and it was very good to see. And there are some young people who founded this platform in order to reach many people, and they worked with the government in order to contribute to solutions doing that. And at the same time, we have to, as I said, cope with the fake news. We have to cope with trusting news, which also have a reason in the new social media, in the digital media, because we noticed that in Germany also we have these filter bubbles. People live within, they feel accepted, they feel that they think the right just because they are within the filter bubble. And if we talk about education, it's very important on, say, can you trust when the information comes from someone, and how can we, let's say, control misinformation. So I think we have big possibilities with digital media, and at the same time these digital media brought us some difficulties we didn't see before.
Yeah, I guess that is also very similar in Indonesia, no?
Oh yeah, disinformation, we call it hoax. I think that is there's a data shows that misinformation or something sensational is getting spread 6 times faster than the real one. I mean the real news, basically. So we have to fight 6 times harder for that. So but I think that's pretty hard to put a system there. It's a real challenge, and it's a real issue to have that. Manually, yes, you can, but then when messages comes in millions every second, we need a system to do that. Which if it comes in one language, it's easy, English or Indonesia. But then us here, we are dealing with thousands of dialects and languages on every different islands. I mean, just to implement on just in Jakarta itself, the Jakarta and the surrounding areas, they have a few different, 3 different languages already. Mostly in the Indonesian dialects, the Jakarta, and then there's Betawi, and then there's Sunda, there's 3. And then to have to differentiate that, to filter that properly, and to have that system implemented just for those, it's tough already. And imagine putting it nationwide as the 13,000 language dialects. It's a war that we are facing, and it's tough. But we have to do it. It's something that has to be done. It's destructive, basically.
So there's a lot to be done, and there's a lot of work that can be done by new startups, a lot of new projects, I suppose, in Indonesia that can be tackled. And I think we are running out of time, but we want to talk a little bit about what our plans are. Adrian said earlier that there are some exchange forum or some coaching forums for startups in Indonesia. And if we talk about exchange, the startups in Indonesia would mostly be looking into the States and to the English-speaking market, and not so much to Germany, where we also have a lot of startups which work with content and which try to improve certain areas where there's a lack of content, or whether there's a lack of reading, or could make reading easier or writing easier or whatever. So what we want to do, we want to create a new platform that will bring into startups from Indonesia and from Germany together, so they get to know more about each other, and might also find some more ways to collaborate on certain projects where Germany might be in a position of strength, where we have already a lot of experience. So Harald, just two words, please, about what we want to do.
We would like to think how to cooperate and connect. We see that digitalization is a global language. When we talk about artificial intelligence, e-commerce solutions, when we talk about content being distributed via XML or HTML, this is something there's no difference in between Indonesia and Germany. And we have many startups during our competition who are also working globally. And it would be very interesting to exchange ideas, and maybe in some parts there might be a cooperation, and just the possibility to have use cases for startups from Indonesia within the European market could be very helpful to make the next steps. And the idea is to think about artificial intelligence in startups, to think about digital education and startups, and to think about how to work in a global and very local market, what Adrian said, with so many different languages and islands. You have to be local, and at the same time, if you have a startup, you need scalable business models. So you have to think about how to manage these different, very local markets. So these are the ideas in having 4 workshops and working together.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Adrian, you'll be the partner on the Indonesian side, so we're looking forward to that. Would you like to add a few words?
Well, it's interesting. We're looking at when we're looking at the content for education, it's always worth competing with a lot of different sources. So how can we bring creative sides of us, and then culturally, because every content will have to somehow fit into each of the culture. I think how can we bring those startups that can bring those values and implement it digitally and deliver it on a platform that can be a scale. I think that is a very interesting topic to see, and how to match them. And then the second topic is when we look at Germany, it's always we're always always one of the keywords that always pops in everybody's mind is precision and industrial. It's something that we can learn a lot over there. So how can we collaborate on those two and be valuable on each of us? Two different continents, I guess. So I think that would be very interesting to see.
Okay, thank you. Yes, and we're very happy and would welcome any input that any of you startups in Indonesia might give us for what kind of content, what kind of exchange you would like to see with German startups and with us, with German startups from Germany. And these, as Harald mentioned, so we will have 4 sessions until the end of the year. We will communicate the timings for those sessions very, very soon. If you have any questions about this exchange forum, please write to the Jaktent team. We will answer every question about it, and we would really love to see a lot of Indonesian startups and also German startups being part of this exchange forum. We think it's a great idea. For us, it's for the German startups, it's also a new market, a new region where we don't know much about. And so it's a really interesting new endeavor. I want to thank Harald Hensler and Adrian Sugandi for being here today and talk to us about these ideas and share some information about startup scene in Germany and in Indonesia. And I also wanted to say that this startup forum is not just for Indonesia. It could also we also welcome startups from every part of Asia Pacific to be part of this exchange forum. Right, thank you very much, both of you. And I also want to thank the Foreign Office of the Federal Republic of Germany, who is making this startup forum possible. And of course, the Goethe Institut, who also helps us with all our endeavors in Indonesia and Southeast Asia. So thank you for being here. We welcome you all. We really look forward to this new exchange forum. Thank you and have a good day and stay safe. Bye.
Informasi terkini menjadi sumber referensi dan inspirasi di setiap aktivitas. Melalui news video portal, segala informasi dapat disajikan cepat, akurat, dan lengkap. Dengan kekuatan teknologi digital, Medcom.id hadir dengan berita pilihan yang dikemas secara menarik. Medcom.id, digitally inspire people.
Sudah 15 menit, masih kejebak macet.
Tenang. Daripada emosi, 15 menit Anda jadi lebih berharga kalau bersama saya.
15 minutes, setiap Rabu, jam 6 sore lewat 45 menit. Mediaindonesia.com hadir dengan opini cerdas dan narasumber kredibel, mudah diakses, informasi berkualitas ada di genggaman Anda. Klik di browser Anda www.mediaindonesia.com dan temukan pandangan berbeda, karena fakta bisa sama, sudut pandang boleh beda. Mediaindonesia.com, views and news.
Dalam setiap denyut kota, saya selalu menjadi saksinya. Disiarkan lebih dari 20 televisi jaringan Jawa Pos Group. Jawa Pos TV, paling Indonesia. Kebebasan pers dan gelombang era digital menghadirkan ribuan bahkan jutaan informasi dan data setiap harinya. Beragam data dan informasi berserak di berbagai tempat seiring dengan perubahan dunia yang bergerak begitu cepat. Media-media baru pun bermunculan, namun kualitas informasi seolah tak lagi menjadi prioritas. Bahkan, tak sedikit yang abai pada etika jurnalisme. Untuk menjawab tantangan itu, Kata Data hadir sejak April 2012 sebagai portal media di bidang ekonomi dan bisnis. Beragam sektor diulas mulai dari finansial, energi, pangan, hingga industri kreatif dan digital. Artikel mendalam dan komprehensif dengan sajian infografik yang menarik menjadi karakter utama dari Kata Data. Kata Data berikhtiar untuk terus menyajikan beragam informasi berkualitas untuk kemajuan negeri dan untuk kepentingan bisnis Anda. Kami percaya demokrasi yang sehat tumbuh dari kehadiran informasi dan data yang akurat.
Kalau bicara pakai data.
Hidup terlalu pendek untuk membiarkan pemikiran-pemikiranmu, ide-idemu terdiam begitu saja. Untuk berubah, kita perlu melangkah. Dan langkah itu lahir dari sebuah inspirasi. Republika, start moving.